Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 25th District Senator Romaine Quinn is our very special guest today. He comes on the last Thursday of every month. Today, Thursday, August 29th, 2024. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you are watching DrydenWire Live, presented by Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream and break down government barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Find an event near you at afpwisconsin.com and join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. We are streaming today's show live on our Facebook page, but as a reminder, we will also have the full recording of today's show posted on our website at DrydenWire.com and on our YouTube channel, just youtube.com/DrydenWire later on today. With that said, Romaine, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole bunch that's been going on in the last month because you're not in session right now, right?
Yeah, every summer the legislature is technically out of session, but this is kind of when we gear up to get ready for the following session, right? When we're back on the floor.
When does that start? Is it after the election?
Yeah, it's usually in January when the new legislature is sworn in. It's pretty rare that the legislature would meet in a fall session post-election. Unless there's certain things that have to be done, like protecting our past priorities before Governor Evers came in, right? So we went into session in the fall before Governor Walker was completely out of office, trying to cement some of our reforms before the new governor took over.
Sure. Has there been anything, because usually when you come on, you kind of give us updates about what's happening, either what you guys are working on in the Assembly, but obviously you're not in right now, or I'm sorry, the Senate, or things that are happening down in the legislature, but still things are still happening coming out of Madison, right? The governor's doing things. Have you seen anything recently that hey, this is going great, and I really like that we're doing this, or what the governor's saying, or are there some things that are coming out that it's causing you a little concern, or maybe nothing is going on?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I would say we're watching a whole bunch of stuff, especially some of our lawsuits. So right now, the legislature is locked into about, I think, 8 or maybe 11 different lawsuits right now, basically where we're either defending our right as a legislature to do what we're doing or defending our laws in the books because we're getting sued by special interest groups that are on the other side of the aisle. Either, again, like I said, challenging our authority or challenging some of the issues we passed. So as an example, it was frustrating this last budget. On a number of occasions, the legislature negotiated deals with the governor only to have him partial veto things even after, like I said, we struck a deal. So one of those was over reading. We know our reading scores in the state are not where they should be. We are slipping nationally. We can do better. We know being able to read at grade level from third grade on is indicative of your overall success basically forever. I mean, the statistics are daunting. If you can't read at grade level by third or fourth grade, just higher rates of incarceration and all the other things that you're going to struggle with, because reading really is a foundation for your success. So we negotiated with the governor, with DPI, to say we have to get back to more of a phonics-based learning. So we got rid of certain curriculum we don't recommend for school districts. We put a list together of other curriculum we do recommend. And then we put $50 million aside to put reading tutors and specialists into our lowest performing districts across the state. And so we saw what Mississippi had done. They had rose nationally because they invested in specific reading specialists, put them into school districts on top of existing staff, and really try to bring up the lowest rung of students who are struggling. And so we know this works. We've seen it work. We negotiated the deal. There was a lot of heartburn on both sides. There was 3 different bills, the $50 million to spend, and then the outlined structure of how we would implement this program. So after the deal, of course, the governor issues a partial veto on part of it, again, after we struck a deal. And our argument is for that, not to get too far in the weeds, is he couldn't do that because you can only partially veto appropriation bills. So if you recall, like in the state budget, the governor can partial veto things because it's a spending bill. But if you pass a bill that's just language, no spending, it's either a full veto up or down. You can't go in there and strike out words. And so we believe he violated that concept. So we're in court. Of course, we got a ruling in Dane County that wasn't favorable, so we get to appeal that. Shocker. We get sued in Dane County on purpose because they know the ruling they're going to get before we even get in court half the time. and go from there. So that's just one of many lawsuits we're watching. And then what I love is there'll be a Madison newspaper that'll print, look how much the legislature is spending on attorney fees. And it's like, well, if you would stop suing us and let us do our jobs, we wouldn't have to hire attorneys. So
Sure.
damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
Yeah.
as long as we control at least one house in the legislature, we'll always defend our actions in court whenever we need to.
So while you were talking, I was listening, but I'm trying to work on getting. We have someone else is joining us. It looks like in our green room. I see somebody else, so I'm trying to figure out how to get this on the screen. I think I hit publish here.
There he is.
Good morning, gentlemen.
My goodness, Chanz, what's up, buddy?
How are you today? I'm doing well. Another
Good.
wonderful day in the Northwoods.
Well, so it wasn't a complete surprise that you were on. It was, we thought, well, maybe it would be kind of fun to have you come on as well, but we never heard back, so I didn't think you were actually going to be on the show. So I just saw you pop in, and first of all, way to be late.
We thought you were still sleeping.
That's normal with me. I apologize. Yep. So aside from technical difficulties, why wouldn't it? If I could only get that computer to fit my fat head in there. There it is. All right.
See, the trick for me,
I'm not tech savvy. Sorry, Ben.
I just zoom up my camera, and then my head doesn't look as big. That's the trick.
I just keep pushing this computer further away. I don't know if that helps.
No. Could you actually pull your, if you have a laptop, could you actually pull down your screen a little bit to get your head up just a little bit higher?
Not like
maybe
that.
a little too high. Yeah. Chanz, congratulations, by the way, on your primary win. Where were you that night when that was happening? Did you stay up and wait, or now I'm going to bed, I'll find out in the morning?
Well, thank you. Yes, we stayed up. We were up till about midnight until we actually kind of called it. But we were just down at the Pioneer, hanging out. We had a lot of great people there. Sawyer County Republican Party had a lot of members there. Even Price County, I had a few folks come over, very supportive. Those guys are great. Always loved them. They came over. We just watched it throughout the night. And as the results came in, we celebrated or cried and hugged, all that good stuff. So it worked out good. But thank you. We made it through the first round, off to the next.
Yeah. So Romaine was talking about things kind of going down in Madison. He was talking about some lawsuits. I don't know how long you were in the green room until I actually saw you. I don't know how much of that you heard, but are you familiar with some of those lawsuits that are going on down or that are happening in Wisconsin?
I am. Yeah. I mean, of course, they're bigger issues downstate, but I won't lie. I'm mainly focused on the campaign trail right now. Just trying to get through this next election cycle, and we're focused on November. Of course, those issues are going to come up in the next legislative cycle, so we're keeping an eye on them. But at the end of the day, it's on to November. That's where my focus is at.
Sure. You know what we should do? So your opponent is Jeannie Bruce, Democrat. She's from Spooner. Actually, she was on the show 2 weeks. Shoot, maybe it was last week. I can't remember. She was on the show recently, and I asked her about 5 specific Wisconsin issues facing Wisconsin in the next, couple years. So, it'd be fun to have you do the same thing, but then also, Romaine, I want then to you let us know if you agree with him. So this will be fantastic. And he can
Yes.
No. Right now, just no.
No, that's a stupid one. That's not an issue. Come on, Chanz. So give us, let's start going through a list, and it's not in an order, and there's probably 50, but just 5 that kind of come to your head that you realize these are big issues that are Wisconsin-specific issues, maybe even northern Wisconsin and your district-specific, but Wisconsin-specific issues. What's one of them?
I can go first. Housing is a big issue up here. We're having a housing shortage. Of course, it's hard to get families to move to your area, move to your school district when they can't find somewhere to live. So, of course, last session we passed them a great housing package. Quinn was a lead on a lot of those, but we passed that package to trying to promote housing initiatives when it comes to renovating old buildings, short income housing, things like that. We tried to get that to renovate or motivate buyers in northern Wisconsin. So I think that's a big issue when it comes to northern Wisconsin. Of course, Wolves, I get calls about wolves every day. It seems to be getting worse. So that's a huge issue. Of course, that's a federal issue that we're dealing with right now. But of course, it would be nice for the state of Wisconsin to have all the rules and everything ready to go for when hopefully a Trump administration delists the wolf. So that's what we're hoping. That's another issue in northern Wisconsin. What else? You go ahead, Quinn. What else do we hear?
Yeah, by the way, I had my own list, like in my own mind.
You have a list.
So, well, I'm not going to tell what it is quite yet. But when we were doing this with Jeannie last week, she was giving me hers. I think I remember like 3 of them. I don't think I remember all 5. But I was also doing my separate list while she was also, talking about this. Because I was wondering, like, what are the issues I think are the biggest ones facing? So I kind of have a list. It's probably not very good, but no kidding. Both of those were actually on it. I'll tell you that.
Gotcha.
Now, I'm not saying I'm passionate about the wolf thing. You know me. I don't hunt. I don't go outside. I don't know anything about it. But I look at it from just an economical standpoint. That really was the main thing, is our economy. We got to grow the economy. So that kind of fell under that. So, Romaine, so far, do you agree that what Chanz said, that so far he has 2 of his 5 that he said, housing and wolves? Do you think those are 2 of the 5 biggest issues facing Wisconsin, or the things that people in Wisconsin are paying attention to?
I can verify that. I know I was going to say no to whatever you said, but yeah, those are definitely two. I would say the most we hear about, as well as Chanz mentioned. We passed the biggest housing package, incentive package in state history to try and jumpstart housing, workforce housing that middle class and lower class families can afford. And then the wolf issue as well. I mean, that's not going away. I think we have a meeting coming up in Rothschild, with Senate candidate Eric Hovde, Congressman Tiffany, to go over that. And that's an important piece for people to remember. There's a clear difference in this federal Senate race. Yes, Tammy Baldwin talks about delisting, but the bill she's promoting allows judicial review, which would allow a judge to put them back on the list, a judge from another part of the country that has no idea, that has never been to Wisconsin, which is how we got here in the first place. Yeah. And Congressman Tiffany and hopefully soon to be Senator Hovde do not. So Wisconsin deserves the ability to manage its own wildlife populations without review from a judge 1,000 miles away who's never even been to our state.
All right, what would you add to this list so far? And again, we're going to Chanz. You there is no pass. We'll let Romaine do one. He doesn't have an election this cycle.
I can name him. I can keep going.
Give me another
I feel
one.
like he's the star of the show. He's the best looking one here.
This is your time. This is your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, mental health is another issue with the closures down in Eau Claire. I know that's an issue, and I actually have been looking at possibilities in northern Wisconsin. There's an empty clinic sitting in Ashland that was built in about, I believe it was 99, that is currently for sale. And the issue is finding someone to run it. We spoke with a few of the hospitals in the area, and I understand they need to stay afloat. So there's some issues there, but I mean, we're looking into stuff like that because northern Wisconsin needs some type of mental facility, not only to treat patients and take care of them, but it's a burden on all the counties to have to travel and expense officers to transport critical patients to across the state. They're gone for an entire shift, and that means somebody's pulled away from public safety in our area. So that's a huge issue in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I feel now I feel badly because I did not have that on my list. And I feel like a jerk.
Attention, man.
I'm a jerk for that. And by the way, good morning, Angie Sapik and Stacy and Steve that are joining us as well. And if you're watching, please, if you have a question for either of our guests, Representative Chanz Green kind of joined us as the show started going on. So we have 2 guests this morning. But if you have a question for either Chanz or for Romaine, please let us know or just say good morning. Mental health, man, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, give me another one.
Gotcha. What else we got going? Just off the top of my head, abortions come up quite a bit
on my list, right? It has to be because now that with the federal with Dobbs and right now it's forced to now be a Wisconsin topic or a state topic.
Right, and it came up a lot in my primary. Of course, I've been pro-life all my life. I am open to exceptions. And I got a lot of criticism for voting for a 14-week bill last session. That bill would have sent it out to the voters, and it would have turned back the dial from currently 20 weeks in the state of Wisconsin to 14 roughly. So it wouldn't have been all the way to where we would like it, but at the end of the day, it would have turned back the dial closer to zero, and that's what our attempt was, especially in divided government, working with Tony Evers, who, he's all for 40-week abortions right up to term. Yeah, we can't have that. So that at the end of the day, that's another issue that in Wisconsin that needs to be addressed, and hopefully this cycle will tackle that one.
Hold on, let's stay on that. I mean, it's a I wouldn't say a difficult conversation to have, but it kind of makes people a little uncomfortable. I honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. As you know, I like talking with people, not talking policy. But it is an election cycle, so we do need to probably stop right there and talk about this. You said that you are pro-life. I've often thought about, if I was in the legislature, how would I handle my belief system and how would I vote for things? Because those could be different, right? Capital punishment. I do not believe in capital punishment at all. However, if it was a vote, I would actually vote yes, because very few states actually put people to death, and it's used as a huge deterrent, in plea deals, right? Okay, you get 40 years in prison, or you roll the dice and go to a trial, lose, and you get the death penalty. So it's a huge tool that you could actually use in these big cases, even though personally, I don't think the government should put anybody to death. So how do you balance that? So what is your personal opinion on the topic of abortion or reproductive rights? And how does that compare to how you would vote?
Gotcha. So, like you say, yeah, you try to feel out. You're down there. You're representing your people the best you can, and I won't lie. Last session, I thought if we give it to the vote, give them a say, the constituents. That was kind of why I voted for the 14-week abortion bill. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm pro-life. I am open to exceptions. But I don't believe abortion should be used as birth control. Last session, we pushed a bill to make contraceptives easier and more accessible, things like that. There's better ways to prevent, and I won't lie, it's definitely a hot topic issue. But at the end of the day, that's where I stand. I'm pro-life. I'm open to exceptions. Life of the mother, rape and incest. I'm definitely open to those exceptions. And like I say, this next session, hopefully we'll see some legislation that kind of mirrors that, and we can move forward on it.
Romaine, when I was talking to Jeannie Bruce last week, obviously we spent a little bit of time on this topic, and I had said, and tell me if I was wrong on this, that it seems as though the average Democrat, and I don't mean politicians or candidates, I mean the average citizen Democrat, they seem to all be on the same wavelength. That this should just not be anything to do with the government at all. This should be between a physician and the mother, or not, whatever we're supposed to refer to the woman, right? It should be between them, nothing with government at all. But then on the Republican side, there seems to be multiple camps. The 100% no abortion under any circumstance. Another camp is abortion, but with exceptions for rape and incest. And then another camp is exceptions, rape and incest, but also like 8 weeks. And then there's one that's 12 weeks or 15 weeks or 14 weeks or 20 weeks. Mm-hmm. Do you find that true? The people you talk to, Romaine, when you go around and maybe down even with your colleagues, possibly, is there really a general consensus as to where are the Republican Party right now and where are just the average Republicans? Like, what does everybody want? Where does everybody fall on this topic? It seems like Republicans are kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think even for the general Democratic voter, they might say that. And then if you ask them a different way and say, do you really think a viable pregnancy after 3 months or 4 months should be terminated? And they're like, well, of course not. She should have made that decision ahead of time, right? Or something. So in reality, there's a lot of, I think, general Democrat voters that think there should be some restrictions to it. It shouldn't be wide open. And I think poll after poll shows that. Almost no one supports late-term pregnancy abortion. So why not codify that? And that's the frustrating part, right? I think for maybe voters in the middle, right? You've got when Democrat politicians say, leave it up to the doctor and the mother, or maybe they're not a mother because it's not a baby. I don't know how you find that.
100% sure.
But then that is code for abortion at any point in a pregnancy, at any time and for any reason, right? If you truly believe there should be
Yeah.
no government involvement, that's what you're advocating for. And I don't think anyone, unless you're really extreme, really want that. So I think the biggest thing the state could do to try to maybe clear up some of this is to define what actually an abortion means. And it's really been, I think, unfortunate. I think the pro-life side has done a poor job at this. And I had a bill to fix this, but the assembly did not take it up. Come on, Chanz.
I'm working on it.
What the frick?
Working on it.
Wait, hold on a
Chanz
second. You
doesn't-
can't gloss over this. What was it? What was it?
Chanz doesn't schedule bills, so it's not Chanz's fault. But it would actually define abortion. So abortion has always been the intentional ending of a human life, right? So this would clear up all those cases of, I'm 4 months pregnant and I was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer, and if I don't begin treatment now, I know I'm not going to make it. So I have to make a heart-wrenching decision. Do I accept medical care for myself and risk my pregnancy, or do I allow myself to continue the pregnancy, deliver a healthy baby, knowing that I'm not going to come out of it, right? Those are real, rare, but real awful decisions that people have to make. And that is not the intentional ending of human life, right? Choosing to receive medical care without the intention of trying to end my pregnancy is not an abortion. And so we should stop scaring women or telling women that you can't get care for an ectopic pregnancy or a molar pregnancy or receive other healthcare services while you're pregnant that could risk the viability of the baby, but your own life is at risk. So I believe state statute already allows for exceptions for health of the mother. But I think there's enough ambiguity that both sides play off of politically that we should take it off the table. And so we found language that we use with our attorneys from South Dakota and a couple other states, ran it by all our pro-life groups. It's not an exception because it's not an abortion. Women receiving medical care that results in the accidental ending of a pregnancy is not an abortion. And so I think it's important for the pro-life community to really clarify that. So let's at least do that, take that off the table. Because I heard that a ton on the doors is, well, if you don't believe in this, what happens if I have an ectopic pregnancy where we know the child can't come to term? Well, obviously you should be able to get treatment for that. Catholic hospitals also provide treatment for that, right? So there's ways, I think, that unfortunately politics has interjected itself and has tried to muddy the water on purpose because it can scare people into camps one way or the other. Both sides do it. And so we should provide more clarity for doctors, for physicians, for mothers and families that are making some of these decisions.
Did you say you brought that up while you were in the Senate or when you were in the Assembly?
It was part of my Embrace Them Both package last session. So we had four bills. Yep. We wanted to fund adoptions. Adoptions should not be so expensive in the state.
Oh, you know what? I remember that. I remember you were on the show. We talked about that.
Yep.
I do remember.
We want to fund adoptions. We should fund pregnancy resource centers to provide services for families with unexpected pregnancies. We extend our current existing child tax credits to children in the womb. As a pro-life community, as Republicans, if we believe babies in the womb are real, why don't they count for tax purposes only after they're born, right? So that should apply.
That should be a no-brainer.
Yep, I think so.
And it shouldn't have anything to do with where you stand on abortion at all. Nothing to do with that, actually. That's a no-brainer.
Right. You and I can disagree on when life starts, but once a woman can prove she's pregnant, why not give her the same tax credit as when that child is born? Because we know expenses don't start after the baby's born. They start long before then, right?
Yeah.
And we should be supporting families if we truly, and that's where I think Republicans have failed. We're fiscally responsible, but if we are truly pro-life, if we are truly pro-family, our government, we have to create that culture, and that means supporting families every step of the way the best we can.
Yeah, you want to hear something crazy? I read this study a couple of weeks ago. I think it was done a couple of years ago, maybe 2021, but I just happened to read it. And Americans were polled. I don't know where the poll was. I don't remember. This was a few weeks ago. To ask the question, what field are the experts that you would defer to define when does life begin? And again, I'm not advocating. I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it was an interesting study. And 2 out of 3 Americans said biologists. So they then they polled worldwide 5,500 biologists. And I think they had 5,000 respondents. And of those, 92 or 95% of biologists said life begins at conception. So it's just interesting. The professions that we would say, again, according to polls, Americans say biologists would be the experts, and yet they say it begins at conception, yet only 1 in 3 Americans actually think it begins at conception. So it's like we're all over the place. I don't understand that. Can we not figure that out? Apparently we can't. Did you see that bill go through, or did you see that on the assembly floor or in emails, Chanz, when that happened? Were you supportive of that, and why didn't it go anywhere?
I was, yeah, and I do believe I co-sponsored or signed on to all those bills. They were great. It was a great package of bills that Quinn put out there. Like I said, I don't schedule or dictate what committee they go to, but at the end of the day, it kind of fell apart on our side. And like I said, I won't lie. If Quinn wants to bring them back this session, I'm sure somebody will take it up. If not, if you can't find somebody, hey, buddy. But
Right.
nonetheless, we can bring it back this session because I think I really love Romaine's response to that. It's true. You know, let's clarify some things and let's clean everything up. And again, support the family. Let's make adoptions easier for these options. And at the end of the day, let's support families. I really like that. And at the end of the day, I support it fully.
All right, let's keep going on our list here. This is Representative Chanz Green's 5 specific. These aren't a top 5 list, and you didn't know I was going to be asking this before. I didn't even know you were going to be on the show, but before you came on, so this is all just off script. 5 specific topics or issues in Wisconsin that Wisconsin is facing or will be facing in the next cycle. You have housing so far, wolves so far, mental health, and of course abortion, reproductive rights. Give me the 5th one. Or a 5th
I think the most what I heard at the doors a lot this spring and summer so far is inflation. Well, there's a couple.
Wisconsin specific though.
Well, and that's so I get so I can get to that inflation, and at a state level, I think the best thing we can do is cut taxes. We tried to cut a couple. We had I think it was 4 different tax cut packages last session. The governor vetoed every one. Mind you, in every single package, there was a middle class tax cut, and he vetoed every single one of them. We tried to get rid of the retiree tax. He vetoed it. But at the end of the day, if we're keeping more money in your pocket, that's going to help pay the car payment or pay for childcare that everybody is so desperately in need of. Things like that. That is, you can direct that money to where you see fit and take care of some of them burdensome bills. Even just throwing some more at the grocery bill. It's ridiculous right now. I just went over the food costs for our business down the road here, and everything is just so high. You can't go out for a burger basket and a beer anymore with the wife for $20. It's not a thing anymore. It's a thing of the past. And it's frustrating because everybody thinks these little small businesses are making a ton of, no, that's what it costs us to get it in the door. So these little things are crippling northern Wisconsin and rural Wisconsin. And I won't lie, if we could cut taxes, that's gonna take the edge off when it comes to all this inflation. And I think that really needs to happen. I'm going to push for it and advocate for it this session, this next coming session. And I think that would definitely combat inflation.
Well, Representative Gay Magnifici says she's going to need that retirement tax cut.
Gay needs to pay her fair share.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Gay. That's very nice for you to chime in. All right, so again, these aren't your top 5 priorities. These are just simply 5 things that you just thought of, Wisconsin specific. So, Romaine, what would you take out and what would you replace it with? Chances so far, or his 5 were housing, wolves, mental health, abortion / reproductive rights, and then I will say inflation / cut taxes, or taxes in general, I suppose. Do you agree with that list? I'm sure those are all, good things, but was there something else that you would put 1 or 2 other things in place of something?
Yeah, I think just to add on the tax cut piece, under Scott Walker, the legislature, and we were all keenly focused on the burden of property tax and how do we keep that down for the average homeowner to make sure that it was the same or less the day Governor Walker took office to when he left. And since Governor Walker left, we as a legislature have taken our eye off of that and have looked at other priorities, right? Income tax cuts, other things. But I think when you talk about home ownership affordability, the squeeze on seniors to stay in their homes, as there's been this lack of affordability, prices have gone through the roof, which hurts buyers. But for people that live in their homes that aren't looking to buy or sell, your values have also went through the roof, and your assessments have gone up, which means the property tax that you're paying has also gone up. So you have seniors feeling the crunch, you have first-time home buyers feeling the crunch on both sides. You know, when your property taxes go up 20, 30, 40%, that increase on your debt to income ratio when you're going to purchase a home is a big deal that you might not be able to afford it. Or let's say you bought a home 3 years ago and now you can't make the payment because the property tax now reflects the new value that it's worth. And it's not your fault. You didn't do it. It's not your fault. And so I think there's got to be a way for the legislature to double down our efforts to continue to try to freeze property taxes across the state, just on that point. But I think the only other one that we're going to have to address next session and continue to work on is rural EMS, which again, I think is part of the top 6, right? All those that Chanz mentioned are important.
No, you can't change. No, it's the 5. You can't add another one.
Top 6. Oh, that was real hard. Top 6, Ben.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No,
Yeah,
you gotta remove. You gotta remove one. So you're moving housing, wolves, mental health, reproductive rights, or inflation tax cuts. Which one are you taking out?
I'm not removing any of them, but I am going to hit on that. You're 100% right. We have areas in northern Wisconsin that when you call 911, people aren't showing up, and it's a huge issue. And it's hard because, a lot of people say, well, the volunteerism isn't there like it used to be. No, everybody has a busier life. They got kids at soccer. They got their daughters at dance. They got 2 jobs because they're trying to fight inflation. Everybody's so busy. Nobody wants a pager to go off at 2 a.m. and then they want to run to a call, and they're burnt out already. So it's really hard to balance all that and volunteer. So we need to find a way that can incentivize people to, volunteer, become EMS certified, join the local fire department. But I won't lie, DISPUS and all the other entities, the Madison bureaucracy downstate, isn't helping. They're putting more restrictions and more regulation and more requirements on these people. It went from 178 hours or 172, and I'm just spitballing here, to roughly 280 hours of certification time. Who has time for that? What we need is people that can get you stable on a scene, right, get you in an ambulance, and get you to a hospital where people can treat you. And that's what we need. So it's a huge issue in northern Wisconsin.
And I didn't even know that. Like, no kidding. Yeah, I had no clue that this was actually a big thing right now.
It is. And I won't lie, I give a credit to a lot of people like Bayfield, Ashland County. They're trying to consolidate dispatch centers and everything like that to kind of consolidate resources. They're trying to go to a county-wide EMS service. But at the end of the day, Sawyer County's already doing this. So we've seen some of the good and the bad going on down there. So, we're keeping a watchful eye, but people are trying to get creative. They're trying to, be innovative. But at the end of the day, it's a huge concern, and especially because we're a touristy area. A lot of people, and mind you, locals, tourists, everybody expects someone to show up when they call 911. But, those are the issues we're dealing with. And I hear a lot about it when I'm at my other job. People complain, it's tough, it's a tough goal for these little rural firefighters and trying to keep a EMS service up. So we have to look at ways to, like I said, innovate that industry, and hopefully we can make it better going forward, because at the end of the day, we need them. We need those people. So,
all right. Well, 3 of your 5 I did have, but there was 2 that I had on my list, and there was another one that didn't make my list, but I'm surprised we're not really talking about much anymore. But first, we have a question here from Emily Gall. What about price gouging and corporate profits? From 2020 to 2022, inflation rose 14% and corporate profits rose by 75%. What policies can you support to help keep these giant corporations from taking advantage of consumers?
Well, I think some of that is a myth, right? Because when I talk to small businesses, for instance, I just went and toured Burnix, Pepsi bottler over in Polk County, part of the new lines of the district. And we actually brought that up. A 12-pack of pop is now $9, $10, $11. When I was selling Coca-Cola products before I got in the state assembly back in the day, I remember I was running deals at 3 for $9 or 2 for $5.69 or something like that. It was just crazy. And, I asked, their lobbyists, their CEO, the owner of Burnix themselves were there. Their family started delivering beverages by horse and cart in the early 1900s. And I said, how do you explain this? And they said, Romaine, everything's up. Everything is up. I have to pay people more. The cost of material is more. The cost of transport is more. Everything is up. So you might say 75%. Well, yeah, it's not hard to say 75% if I'm paying 20% more in wages, 20% more for material, 20% more for shipping. And then, yeah, there's a 60% increase in your costs, right? So could there be some of that? Sure. But I think a lot of especially your mid to small businesses, they're not gouging anyone. They're trying to stay afloat.
Okay, so hold on. So what you're saying is that 75%. So what Emily Gall had said, price gouging corporate profits. If inflation is up 14%, corporate profits rose 75%. Are you saying that 75% isn't like the margins? It's not the actual, they made more money. You're saying that it was just, that's how much more money they had coming in, but that doesn't include how much money they had going out?
Well, that mentions, her says profit. So I don't know if that's net income or profit, but I'd have to see the study that she's referring to, because there's a lot of articles out there now that's showing exactly what I mentioned. Everything is just up. Yes, everything costs more. Not necessarily people are taking home more money on the profit of that product.
But I think we could probably all agree that corporations, we're not talking small mom and pop businesses here or small businesses, which is 99 or fewer employees, or the average size. But come on, really? Just saying, there's a little truth to that. You got to agree with that.
I would have to see the numbers. It would depend, because a lot of those people are feeling the squeeze. Like John Deere is just laying off hundreds of people in Iowa because the ag economy is down for various reasons. And they're a multinational global corporation that is taking it in the shorts right now. So I think it depends case by case what company you're actually looking at.
I suppose. Chanz, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. I'd like to see the study, but at the end of the day, as state legislators, we deal with more of the mom and pop shops. I mean, Wisconsin has some bigger industry and things like that, but again, they say the same thing when I talk to them. From a small business owner to a big business owner, it's all the same. Everything is up. Everything costs more, and that in return, we have to move that onto the customer, and it's frustrating because our profit, I can tell you from a small business standpoint, my profit margins are not going up. Like I said, we're just squeaking by to pay, to get by. That's what we're doing. So again, I haven't seen the study that she's referring to when it comes to big corporation, but at the end of the day, as a small business owner, how I see it, I'm just trying to keep my business going, because I got people that depend on it. It's a huge issue. We have about 13 employees at our bar, and at the end of the day, they depend on an income. So we got to make sure everybody survives. So
Christy says, with living expenses on the rise, wages aren't being raised because companies cannot afford to. So where's the balance? Is there anything that in Wisconsin legislature that we could do for that? Is there anything relating to what Christy has said? Living expenses on the rise. You guys have talked about that. Wages aren't being raised. And there's a number of reasons why wages aren't being raised. One, obviously they can't really afford it, because if the small businesses are hard enough time just getting by, plus, you can get a job at Quick Trip for like $20 an hour. So a lot of these small businesses, how do you really hire somebody? It costs so much. And I know like the minimum wage is at 7 something, but nobody pays that, right? I mean, good Lord. So what can you guys do in the legislature to help this? Is there anything at that level? Romaine, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, for one, the federal government needs to stop driving inflation. Our supply chains have pretty much sorted themselves out. For the most part, there's still struggles, a lot of different places, but the federal spending, the deficit spending, when you inflate the money supply, was it like 40% when you have the same amount of goods? That literally is inflation, right? You got more money than there are chasing the same amount of goods, which causes, that's exactly what happens. I think my screen's freezing. Are you still there? Am I still there?
We can see just a little hiccup there.
No problem.
You're back. It's fine.
But from a state perspective, Chanz and I can't control what the federal government does. If they did what we told them to do, we'd have a balanced budget we need, and we cut taxes when we've got extra, because that's what we do in Wisconsin. But I think in the meantime, Ann said, You lower the tax burden. You put more money in people's pockets. You make sure that our economy is competitive, that our price and tax structure is competitive for businesses. So it's not only about what can we do, but what should we not do. Every session, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle try to repeal the manufacturing and ag tax credit, which would instantly raise taxes on our businesses, large and small, manufacturing across the state. And so when you look at Weather Shield going down, county and others, these small manufacturers are the lifeblood of many of our rural communities. And when you want to literally throw on another 7.5% income tax on them overnight by repealing that, what do you think they're going to hire more people? Do you think they're going to give out wage increases to keep up with the cost of inflation for their employees? No, they're going to look to other states to move their production because it's about cost of producing. So we need to make sure that we are a state that encourages production, that encourages investment and people to locate here and develop their business and hire more workers and be competitive. And right now we are competitive, especially compared to Minnesota. We are poaching quite a bit. We're a border district. We're talking to people all the time. How do we get you to move your headquarters here? Get out of Duluth, come to Superior. Get out of the Twin Cities, come to Hudson, La Crosse. We'd love to have you. We don't charge you income tax over here. And believe it or not, the sky hasn't fallen. We still have a surplus. Our projections came out yesterday that we have another $275 million above collections and state tax revenue right now than we projected last budget, which will be debated and used head into the next cycle. So we're in a good spot. I think there's some things we can do, but a lot of it, what we're trying to do is not let happen. We need to keep Wisconsin competitive so our businesses can actually afford to pay people here.
Chanz, so here's my 5. And please understand, I did not put a whole lot of thought into this. But 3 of them were on your list. So housing, wolves, abortion, but I didn't have mental health. That's a really good one. Inflation, I thought that was more of a federal thing, but I understand we can do things in Wisconsin. But I'm just talking like topics that are here in Wisconsin that I hear a lot about. Rural broadband I had on that list. Where does rural broadband fall in? We just got to witness that firsthand with Romaine just now. not going super well. Where does that fall into the list?
My fault. That's a great question. So it's a huge issue. And actually this last session, both Quinn and I were supportive of a lot of projects in northern Wisconsin, letters of support, helping the industry up here put in bids for projects. And a lot of them were awarded. I think Novato got 2 big projects in northern Wisconsin around the Price County area, as well as up by Washburn, the city of Washburn, and things like that. So those projects are going in, but we have roughly $1 billion, I want to say $1.1 billion coming from the federal government when it comes to funding rural projects. The issue I've seen when it comes to putting broadband in isn't the money. We got the money. The money's there. The issue is finding contractors that do it enough in these rural areas. It's more profitable in city areas, so they bid those contracts. They take on those jobs first because it's a better margin. And when they come up here and it's a service every mile, well, those margins are a little less. And at the end of the day, they got a business to run. We just went over that. Nothing's cheap for them either to do all this. So they got to make hay when the sun shines, and finding contractors to come all the way up north and do these projects is a big issue. So I've discussed it. Rob Summerfield, he took on a big project. I think it was the session before this last one. He was kind of spearheading it in the assembly where they looked at all these issues. Can we incentivize other companies, startups, something like that to get these companies up north putting fiber in the ground? It's a huge issue. I'm fortunate enough. I have it at my house, but I only live a mile from Highway 63 too. So, there's those little caveats, but just 2 miles down the road, my neighbors don't, right. So it's them little issues there. It's getting the companies to come up north and put fiber in the ground. And that's kind of the issue that I've seen with when it comes to fiber.
I know Mosaic is doing phenomenal work. Gotcha. I'm on the Washburn County Board, and one of the committees that I'm on is IT. So we actually just had a committee meeting yesterday, and we keeping updates from Mosaic. And yeah, it's coming. Washburn County, I know they're working with others, but I don't care about any other county but Washburn because whatever. So in Washburn, though, I mean, they're doing great, and you're right. Their money is there, and there's grants here, and the B grant here, and this grant here. So it's coming, and they have been working a lot in Mosaic. I don't know how. I know they do a lot of stuff in North Wisconsin. I don't know their full coverage area. I don't know, but they have been working with Washburn County and the board for a long time. And they always have somebody there giving updates every single week or every single committee meeting. It's fantastic. So I know those companies exist, and I'm sure there's others, but Mosaic I know for sure, and they are very active and involved and engaged in every single thing. They want to actually get this done. So
on that note, again, we all support broadband, but how do we not make it worse? So we look at last budget. We know over the next 5 years, we're going to get about $1 billion in federal BEAD money that's coming into the state. Yeah. So about $200 million a year, right? This last budget, the governor wanted to take about $700 million in our one-time money, our surplus, and put it into broadband. And obviously, rightfully so, the legislature said, no, we've got this federal funding coming in. Let's spend that down, and then we can supplant it later when that runs out. So, of course, the headlines were Republicans don't support broadband. But if we would have passed a budget that sunk $700 million into broadband, on top of the $200 million a year we're already going to be getting, we don't have the capacity, as Chanz mentioned. There's only so much wire. There's only so many crews that can dig the wire in. There's only so many techs that can hook up homes with the service. And so what would that have done if we would have did that? We would have put more money in than we could have and would have raised the price on the cost of the project. Because if I'm a contractor and I know there's all this money out there, I know there's not enough contractors to go around, I'm going to charge whatever I want, and you're going to take the bid because I know you have the money because the legislature just overflowed the program with millions of more dollars than we can literally get out the door. And so, again, we can work on these things, but let's not make them worse at the same time. There's only so much we can do in a particular cycle.
Sure. That makes sense. And real quickly, because we're already up about our time, another one I had on my list was tourism. Now, that's a pretty big umbrella word, I guess, right? So many things can fall underneath that for tourism. But I don't know you guys, but I would love it if every people that don't live in Washburn County, or in your guys' case, your 74th Assembly District and Romaine 25th Senate District, and maybe just as a whole in Wisconsin, I would love it if other people paid all of our stuff. And they could do that by bringing them in. I want people from outside our county to come into Washburn and spend money, or to go through our county and spend money. People in Minnesota, please come here. I mean, it's such a big umbrella topic, but tourism, man, that's huge, right? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have put that. Now, obviously, mental health, I think maybe would probably, you're right, Chanz. Probably. But tourism has to be at the top of a list somewhere, right?
It's the lifeblood of northern Wisconsin. It is. It's a huge issue. It really is. And I won't lie, I have two businesses that survive on it. So I'm pro tourism, definitely. But, we have to, local issues have come up, where maybe we have too much in tourism. I've heard it from a few of my county board members.
Are you talking about Apostle Islands? I know you are. You're talking about Apostle Islands, aren't you? I knew it.
So, that's been an issue, Tom Tiffany's proposal to open up the Apostle Islands to a national park, the first in Wisconsin. It's been a hot topic in northern Wisconsin, just because a lot of people don't think we have the infrastructure to support this tourism. But I won't lie, I'm under the impression if you build it, they will come. Whether it is hotel needs or it's more restaurants, or it sounds like opportunity to me. And I think all the little towns on the northern shoreline here, or the South Shore, whichever you'd prefer to call it. But like Cornucopia, Port Wing, Herbster, all these little towns where after summer, they get 3-4 months and that's it. Yeah. And it's dead. It's a ghost town. And that's just a hard business to be in. It's very unsustainable. And how do you predict the future when you don't have a steady income like that? So I think something like that would be very beneficial. And I think we need to be open-minded to tour, like you say, adapting tourism. Another thing I really think we need to be open-minded is ATVs. It's a $5.4 billion industry in the state of Wisconsin, and Bayfield County just voted it down to open up our roads. So
are you kidding?
That's another thing. Yeah, that's what I said. What are we doing here? So especially last winter after no snow and no snowmobile traffic, I think having open roads would have been huge. If we could allow ATV riders to come up, and it wouldn't have probably been as as good as snowmobile traffic is,
Right.
but it definitely would have helped. It
Yeah.
absolutely would have helped. So I think we need to be open-minded to these things and kind of lean into them, especially the ATV thing. I'm kind of working on that now because I really feel like that's going to be that's going to set us up for success. It's a great group of people. They like to come up, they like to ride, they stop at my place, they have a burger, it's tourism, that we need to cater to that. That's the lifeblood up here. And I support it 100%. You're right. It is what is that, number 7 now? Are we on number 7 of the issues? Yeah.
Your thoughts, Romaine?
Yeah, and not only that, there's an incentive for communities to bring in more tourism now because we tied future shared revenue increases to the amount of sales tax collection.
Oh, that's right.
In your respective county. So if the Apostle Islands become a national park, tourism spending goes up 10 to 14%. That 10 to 14% is reflected in the amount of shared revenue you get, which goes to roads, infrastructure, police, fire, EMS, all those things that we expect of our local governments to be providing for us. So we incentivize communities to increase that. But Chanz is right. Whatever we can do, we have a relatively small tourism budget statewide compared to Michigan, compared to Minnesota in terms of what we do. This last budget, we sunk more into it. We know there's a rate of return for every tourism dollar we spend. And so I think even from a state perspective, there's more money to be spent. And to your point, it gets other people to pay our bills. I would raise the sales tax tomorrow to cut income taxes because we know about a third of our sales tax is collected by people from out of the state. Why would we not want people from Minnesota paying our bills? Right. I'm all about that.
I know.
I'm all about that.
Yeah,
capturing out-of-state revenue to pay for the stuff that we all want. So I think we could get creative on that.
So I'm on the. I don't think it's a funny story. It's a story. So as I mentioned, I'm on Washburn County Board, right? And last board meeting, last Tuesday, we had the board had to read this letter, and it was for Tom Tiffany's bill. It was a letter of support. It was Washburn County. Basically, the letter just said, Washburn County believes that it's going to benefit us if the Apostle Island becomes a national park. That's essentially what it said, but it was like 7 paragraphs and a lot more stuff in it. But that's all it was. Like, we're not actually voting on the bill. It was, and they're not even saying you should do it. We're basically just saying, yeah, this would probably benefit Washburn County. We may not be in that 60-mile radius to get the bigger impacts of when a national park, but people are going to be coming through. It's again, the number one priority. The first thing before I make any decision at the county board level is it a detriment to Washburn County? And if not, does it benefit the citizens of Washburn County, specifically its economy? And I checked all the boxes. I'm like, yeah. And again, it's just a letter of support saying, we think that would be a good idea because it would help Washburn County. It was a no-brainer. Yeah, that was a long discussion from a lot of people, and it got voted down like 16-5. So we couldn't even send a letter saying, we think this would benefit Washburn County. How? I don't know how you guys do what you do at that level, because I'm just on a board level, and it's like, what are we doing? It's just a letter of support saying that, yeah, it would probably benefit citizens of Washburn County, which it would.
How much does Washburn County spend on tourism?
I don't know.
Do you have a county tourism department?
That same meeting, they went over that. But
sure.
And I had a packet, but I don't remember all the numbers now.
Sure.
And, by the way, it was asked, a board supervisor asked when they were doing that presentation to the executive director of Washburn County Tourism if that became our next agenda item is going to be on this topic. So real quick, while you're here, if that got turned into a national park, would that benefit tourism in Washburn County? And without hesitation, yes. And yet we did, because, there's a lot of people up there that don't think it's a good idea, and maybe their board doesn't even like it. Well, hold on, then we shouldn't like it. But I don't care if they build it or not. This isn't advocating to build it or not build to make it a national park or not. I don't care.
Sure.
But if it did, it would benefit Washburn County. You have to agree to that. But apparently 16 people did not.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't like being in politics. I don't. I'm a one-termer, Romaine.
I don't know if anyone really does, but that's why you're there.
All right. Well, we've blown way past this. Real quick, the other one that I didn't have on my top 5 list, and I'm surprised that nobody did and nobody's talked about it. And did this topic just go away? Marijuana. How come nobody is that just a non-starter anymore? Nobody brings up should we legalize or not. It's not a hot topic anymore. What happened?
Well, we tried last session to open up to medical marijuana, and I won't lie, it didn't table. I guess there's a lot of people down there with concerns, and I can understand a lot of them. We're
But I mean,
seeing
nobody's talking about it, is my point. When you knock on doors,
right.
are people saying, well, before I vote for you, I need to know where do you stand on marijuana? Like 2 years ago, this was a much bigger topic. It just isn't anymore, and I don't know why. What
Because they
happened?
can't afford groceries, let alone marijuana.
Right.
Oh,
So it falls.
Right.
People have to survive first, right?
That's funny.
So I think there's a lot of other things that are on the top of their mind, especially national politics before that. But I think it's something we're still going to hear about. I think it's something we still have to figure out. I think we're behind in terms of even having the conversation on a detailed piece of legislation for sure.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Chanz, it was awesome that you jumped in to the show.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah.
A lot of fun. The election, how many days away till the election? It's got to be, what, 70-ish?
Yeah, I did not start a calendar yet, so it isn't that close. It isn't close enough to start a calendar yet, so a little
Yeah.
cross off calendar. But yeah, no, nonetheless, we're on the campaign trail every day, so it's been busy, it's been fun, but yeah, November can't come fast enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Romaine, do you how do you see that race finishing up? I think the district is still, even though it's a new district, 74th, or it's newish, right? I still think that's, I don't know what percentage. Do you know what percentage that is of Republicans? I mean, obviously, it all comes down to how many people turn out to vote. And more Republicans than Democrats. That's what it always turns out to be. But is it still a red district?
Oh, it's super red. Isn't it like 65% chance?
What? No.
No, I wish.
65%, that would be like the new 73rd.
58% is roughly.
Oh,
Yep.
well, still, I didn't actually think it was that high.
Yep.
I thought it was
guessing-
higher than that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Jean is a nice person, but she has zero chance. So, I mean, and it's not her fault. It's not Chanz's fault. The governor drew this district this way. So, if any Democrats are upset when Chanz wins by 20 points, it was drawn that way by Governor Evers. So,
There you go.
Nice little dig. I love it. Awesome.
Yep.
What do you, last thing, Romaine, plans for Labor Day weekend?
well, it's Booster Days in Weyerhaeuser. Exland has Trout Fest. Don't they have Trout Fest this weekend? Chance? It's always the
They do.
same.
Yep. Sunday's a parade.
I mean, we have the best districts in the state because we have all these little communities and they all have a shindig going on and they're all a blast. So I would encourage families to get out, support your local communities, go to these events because they tend to raise money for services that you enjoy later on, beautifying your community, parks, all sorts of stuff. So find a festivity and get there, support it, spend your money, and have a good time.
All right, real quick, Larry, and I see no one has answered my question. I'm sorry. There's a lot of comments, so I didn't. Larry, I'm sorry. I don't see. I see you put in some things, but I don't see like an actual question. So I apologize if I missed it, or if anyone else's. There was several comments, so I apologize if I didn't get to yours. Chanz, what do you have coming up for Labor Day weekend? Same thing with Romaine. You just follow him around right now, or vice versa. He just follows you around, I should say.
We're headed to Trout Fest on Sunday, and then so I got to work on Saturday. Saturday's a busy day. Friday's a busy day, but yeah, hopefully to get out and meet and greet type of thing. I like them little events. Hit all the food stands, maybe the beer tent. Enjoy the.
Never.
It is one of the perks of the job. I really do love just all these little communities that you normally wouldn't, that aren't on the docket. That Exland's about an hour and a half away, and I don't get down there all the time, but I love this part of the job. You get down there, get to meet people. So I'm excited for the weekend. It should be a good one.
Where is your business? Where's your bar? Is it Pioneer? Is that your hat that you're wearing now? Where is it located? What city?
I'm just south of Grandview, about 8 miles, and just east of Cable, on Lake Nimicoggan, north end of Lake Nimicoggan.
Do you have? Do you do burgers?
Burgers, beer, cheese curds.
So do you have like burger baskets? What I'm asking is, do you have like those actual old school plastic baskets, right? When you put in the cellophane, or not cellophane, that weird material, and then you is it like an yes? Do you still do that? Come on, please.
I don't. I have I still have the baskets, but now they're paper products. Yep.
How much is a burger at your place right now? $20?
It is no, not that bad. But a cheeseburger and fries, I think, is $12. So it's
about normal.
I heard that everyone listening to the show today gets a free beer.
I heard that too.
This weekend.
At Romaine's house. Yep, go to Romaine's house and help yourself to a
No, that's
free
not what I
beer.
said.
That's not what I said. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Special thank you to our guests, Senator Romaine Quinn and Representative Chanz Green, who jumped on after the show got going this morning. Thanks for coming on. Thanks again for both of you taking the time for a chat today. I'll see all of you right back here on Tuesday when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald and I'll be back for our weekly episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. So until then, thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.